want to know how you select your topics, because obviously they're timely, they are classic, they impact us as people. So how do you determine what's important and what's to focus on?
You know, making films, you really spend years with your subjects. So I look for things that are timeless, that I think allow us to examine some big questions. So for the last several years, I've been really interested in the idea of what makes people act, what makes people get up off of the couch and speak up. So, you know, working on both John Lewis movie and then Pete Souza, those films to me really speak to each other. You know, the congressman, his whole life was about urging people to speak up and use their voice. And then Pete Souza, a man in his 60s, did just that. And so these two characters that otherwise you wouldn't put them together, I think that they speak to each other.
So in Pete's story, as you said, it's a man in his 60s speaking out that obviously got to see two opposing ends of the office of president. What was your lens, or how did you sort of want to cover that from your perspective? What did you think was the best way to showcase his POV and what he learned through those years?
Well, Pete really speaks through his pictures. And, you know, my father was a photographer, and I recognize that. I respond to it. But I really, really was interested in the journey he took to speaking with his voice. So I wanted to explain where he came from and how he came to photography and what his background was. But then also take you on a journey through the photographs of what he saw. And I hope, you know, what that journey does is a few things. It shows you how important the office of the presidency is. You know, I don't know that we always think day to day about what does the president do that impacts my life. And I think Pete's photographs show you that. So um, I really wanted to put the photographs front and center, but I also wanted to have the opportunity to give some context to them, you know, and to really talk about Pete's journey as a person.
So how did you and Pete connect? Did you seek him out because of his book, or how did this all come together for a project?
Um, the producers, Evan Hayes, who had produced the film Free Solo, Jamie Lemons, who works with the actress Laura Dern, they approached me and said, you know, Obama has this photographer. First of all, if someone says Obama, you're like, oh, who? Obama. Um, and you know, they said, can you come and like talk to us? We actually were at an award show, and like I had never met the producer Evan Hayes before, and this man's just like coming towards me. So usually you like step out of the way, like he must be going. So he kind of like, you know, it's like not chasing me around, but it was like a little out of the blue. Um, so he just had this like good elevator pitch. Obama has a photographer to have 2 million photos. Like that is interesting.
Yeah.
And we'd love to talk to you about a film for this. So, you know, I went and met them, and then Pete came out, and Pete just brought his laptop and he started showing us pictures, like, you know, on a projector screen in Laura Dern's conference room. And seeing those pictures, I just like started to cry. You know, it was just like, I felt like I had been holding my breath for 3 years during this current presidency. And, you know, you start to feel like maybe it was all a dream. Maybe it wasn't as good as I thought. But it was all there in the pictures. It was as good as we thought, you know, and it was better than we thought because I didn't have a real sense of how hard it is to do that job. So it also felt like, you know, I was working on a John Lewis film. It was enjoyable being happy. being, you know, looking at someone who you admire and not a scandal or, you know, and the editor, Jessica Congdon, she edited a John Lewis movie and we both wanted to keep staying happy. So we were both kind of up for, she just moved from one thing to the next. So it's really our journey together.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about being a Black female filmmaker in this space. It's not something that we see a lot of, especially covering the type of topics that you do. What made you focus in on, I want to take the quote exactly from your site. We believe film can sometimes be the best way to create space for voices that go unheard and share stories that would otherwise go unshared. So how did you pick that as a focus as a filmmaker stepping into this?
I've always wanted to shoot a documentary. Like, I love documentary. I think life gives us so many interesting stories. And it also felt accessible to me because of my background as a lawyer and my background working for a news division. Like, I understood how to do that a little bit. Um, but, you know, the reason I wanted to go into film is because I did not see stories about people look like me, about by people who look like me. I just wasn't seeing enough of them. It was just too rare. So that is like the whole reason I wanted to make, you know, films. So you know, my first film about 3 young public defenders working in the Deep South, Gideon's Army. And I felt like I had never seen lawyers like that before. I'd certainly never seen Black ones, you know, and it did make me feel I was positioned to tell that story. Um, since then, you know, I think in all of my work, there is this thread of the story you think you know, but you don't really know, you know, and that goes for Bobby Kennedy. He did not start out as a civil rights hero. He was brought there by people like John Lewis and Marion Wright Edelman, you know, so I would tease Netflix. I'd be like, this is the blackest Bobby Kennedy you're ever going to see. And they got that, you know, so I think who you are as a person cannot be separated from your work. And so, you know, for us, for Black and brown people, our identity is always evident. That's not the case if you're, you know, from a non-Black or brown, you know, ethnic tradition. So I, you know, embrace my womanhood, my Black womanhood, and I love it. I love that it like gives you a chance to see something. And by the way, this is just my view. My view is not going to be your view. I don't speak for Black women. I am a Black woman with a particular point of view. And if that, whoever that speaks to, I'm happy to include you. But I know that there's a lot of Black women who relate to the things that I respond to. So I put it that way.
So 2020, we're obviously living in unprecedented times. There's so many things going on between the pandemic, the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, up to what happened last night with the NBA. If you were to pick a topic to focus on for 2020 for a future documentary, what would it be?
I am loving the athletes speaking up. I'm particularly, you know, what I think a lot of people don't realize is how young so many of the athletes are. I mean, you have kids who are 18 and 19. That's the age of my children. You have, you know, Naomi Osaka. Like, we haven't been talking about Naomi refused to play yesterday too. So what Colin Kaepernick has done, what some of these young people are doing, is not only raising attention, but they're owning their power. They're seeing themselves in a different way. And I think that that is very powerful to any young person. So I'm very interested in that.